Over the past several years, in an effort to better represent the social landscape of modern-day South Africa by moving away from colonial and apartheid-era names, a number of cities and places were renamed. In 2021, Port Elizabeth was renamed Gqeberha, the Xhosa name for Walmer Township, one of the oldest townships in Port Elizabeth. About the renaming, there are, of course, differences of opinion. The Xhosa pronunciations are difficult for non-Xhosa speakers to manage. Xhosa is one of the 11 official languages of South Africa, and about 1/6 of the population speak it. It turns out that for various reasons, difficulty of pronunciation being one of them, lots of people still refer to Gqeberha as Port Elizabeth or PE. Our original plans to go out onto the sea to watch dolphins, whales, and seals fell through because of poor weather, so we headed to the South African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds. SANCCOB is a non-profit conservation organization that helps the rescue, rehabilitation, and release of ill, injured, abandoned, and oiled seabirds. Upon entering the center, we discovered a very cute little mouse hole with little mouse footprints leading out of it. We got on our hands and knees and shined our flashlights into the hole to find a little miniature model of a mouse home, complete with a little mouse family getting ready for dinner. The center has one main room that houses information, pictures, objects, and taxidermy related to marine life. The highlight of the center is the outdoor pools where injured penguins stay. The permanent residents live in the enclosure because they're too sick or injured to survive in the wild. The temporary patients are treated and rehabilitated, and when ready, released back to the wild. Behind a separate gate is a pool area where the penguins adhere to a swimming schedule. The juveniles are separated from the adults because the adults are more aggressive. When it's their turn, the door to their enclosure opens, and each group of penguins can enjoy their time in the water. Next, we headed to the South End Museum to explore the history of the South End neighborhood and the forced relocation of its residents under the apartheid regime. We were greeted by a massive hanging flag covering the front of the museum. We didn't recognize the flag immediately. Actually, I thought it might be a tribal flag because it shares the same colors as the South African flag. Later, a man from the museum told us that it was the flag of Palestine. The man explained to us that the reason the museum flies the Palestinian flag is because they sympathize with the Palestinians. Just like the former residents of South End, the Palestinians are also a displaced people. This sparked a family conversation about the different viewpoints within the complicated history between Israel and Palestine, and also about various biases, national biases and media biases, and the sometimes convoluted motivations behind them. The South End area used to be a multiracial residential area where Black, white, Chinese, Jews, Greeks, and many other ethnicities lived side by side in harmony. They raised their families together, attended church together, and shared their lives together. The vibrant South End community was destroyed when the National Party instituted apartheid and its policy of equal but separate development. The Group Areas Act required all non-whites to be removed from white suburbs by force if necessary. The relocations were not always peaceful, and there were violent confrontations between the residents and the police. One exhibit that the children couldn't stop looking at was a blood-stained t-shirt of a boy who was shot in the back and killed by a bullet during an encounter with the apartheid police. The children read the printing on the shirt, and it said, "Please take care of my bear." The t-shirt was smaller than Dean's clothes, but larger than Ellen's clothes, so we could imagine that the boy was probably about 6 years old. The children had a lot of good questions for which there are no good answers. What happened to that boy? Did the police do that? Aren't the police supposed to help people? Why did they kill him? After our visit to the South End Museum, we had lunch at a restaurant called the Black Impala with views of the working port. The questions that arose from the boy's bloody shirt had faded into the back of our minds, replaced by the more pressing question of what we were going to eat. I don't know when the kids might bring up the boy's bloody shirt again. This child's shirt made a strong impression even on Dean and Ellen, who are too young to understand what it represents. But it has become a vivid image stored in their subconscious, and when called upon, is but one piece of the puzzle as they construct their understanding of our complicated world.